Chapter 31. Babies and Enemies. There were babies. Marvin Garden's babies. They weren't tiny babies. They were munching on small pieces of anti-erosion fencing, but they weren't as slimy as Marvin was. They were kind of fuzzy, and they didn't have the underbiting jaw yet. More dog than pig so far. 4 of them. "This is awesome," I said to Marvin. I smiled wide and patted him on his side. Mrs. Marvin Gardens was tucked into the back of the den, so I couldn't see her very well, but she looked almost the same as Marvin. I knew I'd have to give her a name of her own, because everyone should have a name of their own. I went back to looking at Marvin's babies. Their eyes were blue, and they were each about as big as a loaf of bread. The whole family clicked and chattered to one another, and I just sat there with my head blocking the entrance to the den. "Wow, Marvin, I don't know what to say. Congratulations." Mrs. Marvin had that grin on her face the way Marvin did, and I could tell they were very proud of their babies. Mrs. Marvin was gnawing off tiny pieces of the anti-erosion fencing, and the babies made sucking sounds as they ate it. They had teeth, but they were little teeth, like my old baby teeth. I thought of the pollution solution, now increased by 5. There had to be others. Animals don't just evolve out of nowhere and find mates and make babies like that. Marvin's kind must have been around for a while, except nobody knew about them. "How did you hide out for so long? Why doesn't anyone know about you?" I was so happy Marvin existed and had a family. This was like being personal friends with the Loch Ness Monster or something. And then I remembered the rumors on the bus and the melting kitchen floors and shoes and realized that the babies also made the problem bigger. More Marvins equaled more toxic scat. More Marvins meant more Marvins to protect. More Marvins meant the risk of a Marvin being shot by someone had just increased by 5. One of the babies made a noise and Marvin nudged it, to make it feel safe, I guess. I don't know how Marvin felt safe at all. Maybe he had no idea that his poop was eating holes in people's decks and kitchen floors. I could still hear the boys up at the edge of the woods. I said, "Marvin, we're in trouble." He grinned. I said, "This is no time to smile." He grinned wider. I said, "I don't know how to save you." He burrowed into his den and brought me the tennis ball. He knew I couldn't throw it, not even into the river, because if someone was looking for him, they'd see that from up on top of the bank. I said, "We can't play, we have to be quiet." I held up a finger to my lips and said, "Shh." Marvin understood this command. He dropped the tennis ball back into his den and lay down half in and half out of the den, with his head in my lap. We sat there until we couldn't hear the boys anymore. I petted each one of Marvin's babies. The den smelled a little like Marvin's scat, but a lot calmer. The smell of the baby's tiny, bright orange baby poops wasn't nearly as bad as a full-grown Marvin scat. As I sat there scratching Marvin's head, I wished this story didn't have to be about scat at all. There was so much at stake. So much to remember about this land and how it was being polluted with people. There was so much serious stuff to think about, and now it was coming down to poop. "I have to go and look into something," I said. I patted Marvin's head and stood up. He clicked at me until I was out of sight. I thought about kicking the anti-erosion fencing into the river, but the babies were eating it, and I knew that if I did that, I'd be polluting my own river. Tommy and the boys were gone. That's what I hoped, anyway. I had to go to Marvin's bathroom and check the scat circles and see how big they'd grown. I had to know if Marvin's scat was going to melt the whole world. So much had happened. I forgot about Annie until I saw her sitting by the creek.